Hello everyone, my name is Shanti Mary. For my capstone project, I'll be presenting on my creative piece titled For All the Years I Have Known You. This project is a fictional story that follows the life of Grace, a young woman who endures many struggles throughout her nursing career. The story is not only about her professional journey, but also about the emotional and personal challenges she faced along the way. In chapter 1, titled The Break, it introduces Grace, a nurse who works at Grayson's Hope Hospital, who is devastated when she loses her 19-year-old patient, and close friend Lily, who dies after a long battle with cancer. Feeling heavy with grief, she wanders into the forest behind her home and collapses in a clearing of iris and gladiolus flowers, crying out to God for comfort and understanding. In chapter 2, titled Among the Flowers and Behind the Trees, we meet we meet Ezra, who is Grace's childhood best friend. He sees her run into the forest and follows. He finds her weeping and crying out to God. At first, he hid himself behind an oak tree, but he finally revealed himself, reminding Grace that he's Ezra, her childhood best friend. Though Grace struggles to remember him because of an old accident, his presence stirs familiarity and he assures her that she isn't alone. In chapter 3, titled In Quiet Memory, Grace walks back with Ezra, feeling both comforted and unsettled by memories she cannot fully recall. When he gently asks her about her pain, she opens up about Lily, her patient turned friend who died of cancer. Through tears, she shares an emotional poem she once wrote for Lily, confessing her guilt and sense of failure. Ezra reminds her that she gave Lily hope and love beyond medicine, reassuring her that she did not fail. His words and embracing bring Grace a fragile but healing sense of peace. In chapter 4, Holding the Line, it introduced that Grace normally begins her day with prayer, preparing herself for the demanding shift that she may have at Grayson's Hope Hospital, while reflecting on her lingering questions about Ezra, whose presence continued to stir vague memories. At work, she faces chaos in the ER following a major accident, caring for critical injured patients, including James with a collapsed lung, a woman with a thigh wound, a teenage boy with a suspected spinal injury. Despite her exhaustion, Grace demonstrates her dedication and compassion throughout the long, gurgling shift, offering comfort to patients and their families, and finally returning home. She retreats to the attic and revisits her old scrapbook, searching for a piece of Ezra in the faded photographs of her past. As we move down to chapter 5, titled Empty Pages and New Stories, Grace discovered photos of her and Ezra, realizing that there's a deep bond between the both of them. After a long shift, she sees him across the balcony, leading to a heartfelt talk where she confides about her memory loss and her wish to build new memories together. And in the last chapter, which is chapter 6, the scrapbook, Grace opens up to Ezra about the toil that nursing has taken on her, confessing her struggles with burnout, exhaustion, and eventually the car accident that led to her suffering from a retrograde amnesia. Ezra listens with deep understanding, relating her struggle to his own experiences in the army, and reassures her that she doesn't have to bear her burdens alone. Together, they spend the time cooking dinner, sharing laughter and warmth that momentarily dissolved years of pain and distance. As they eat, Grace brings out her scrapbook, inviting Ezra to recount their memories, and his vivid stories help breathe life into the pictures she no longer remembers. They fall asleep beside one another, surrounded by old photographs and new hope, beginning to rebuild their connection through shared trust, through shared stories and trust. So, through the book, one meaningful element that was used in the story is foreshadowing through symbolism. Early on, Grace falls in the clearing of iris and gladiolus flowers. The iris representing hope and faith, and the gladiolus flowers symbolizing strength and remembrance. These flowers foreshadow their healing, renewal, and eventual return of memory. There are many other foreshadows as well, as such as Ezra's name, which means helper, reflecting his role in guiding and supporting Grace throughout her struggle. I had originally planned, when I started planning this story at the beginning of the semester, I originally wrote out the characters, the plots, and the major emotional beats. And by the middle of the week, I focused on expanding the scenes and dialogues. And by the final week, I planned on editing and refining the pacing. I originally planned to do 1 to 2 chapters a week, but due to hindrance, sometimes that did not really happen. Sometimes I end up doing just 1 chapter for the week, or 0 chapters due to work. When it comes down to budget, it cost little to nothing because my main investment was mostly time and energy and consistency in writing. One of the biggest risks that I faced while writing this story is sometimes like a writer's block or having flat characters, but I was able to overcome this with a clear outline by developing Grace and Ezra's as layered and realistic people that we can relate to, and putting emotions that we normally feel as humans. Overall, I feel that For All the Years I've Known You became a heartfelt story about resilience, friendship, and hope. Grace's journey shows that healing is linear. It's often Grace's journey shows that healing isn't linear. It often comes to people we never expect to see again. I'm proud of how this project turned out, and it demonstrates both my creativity and my ability to manage a large and long-term assignment. Thank you.